I have realized during my research with men and women, men enjoy physical touch. Now, I mentioned before that sometimes your love languages are from your childhood, what you did not have as a child growing up. So when a lot of men tell me that they did not have physical touch or their love language is physical touch, I always go back to their childhood and say, okay, mom, dad, what were you doing that your child did not feel loved or felt touched? Now, physical touch is literally giving your son or your daughter a hug, giving someone a kiss on the cheek, holding their hand, giving them tickles as a child, or hugging them when they really had a bad day. These are physical touch. And so when I talk about men having that lack of physical touch, you have to think about it. Welcome to your Off Zone podcast. I'm your host, Martha, and we are so glad that you made it back to episode 3. So I'm going to get into something a little bit softer, and we're going to do something a little bit more lovey-dovey because I feel like I'm in the mood for love today. So we're going to do that, all right? So today, the conversation is going to be covering the 5 love languages. Now, I think we all have a lot of love languages, and I think that these are just the basic love languages of people, right? 5 love languages that can help you help your partner or help your relationships with other people in your life. So I wanted to talk about how our love languages can be perceived as what we did not receive as children. And it is important to know that because I did the research and it all makes sense. If you look back at your childhood and ask yourself what it is that you did not get as a child, then look at your adult life and see what you're seeking out as a love language that makes you feel loved. They kind of coordinate with each other. And I also want to say that we have our own love languages, right? I actually took the time to figure out my children's love languages, and it is beautiful to know how to give your children the love that they desire and that they need to feel loved, because if we're just too busy doing what we think our children or people around us need, then we're really not putting in the effort to show the people around us that we care, that we're interested in knowing what they like and what they love. So now that we have established where we can apply these love languages, let's get into them, okay? So we're going to start with acts of service. Acts of service is a love language that implies if I'm at home and I'm so tired from work and I come home and I don't want to do anything, and you, beautiful person on the other side, decides, you know what, let me knock out these dishes or let me knock out this laundry before she comes home, that would be considered acts of service. Or let me clean her car if she needs it to be cleaned. Or, you know what, let me do this paperwork for her because I know that she's been working hard all day. That's acts of service. And genuinely, people feel loved when you help them without having to say that they need help or without having them to say, I don't feel like cleaning those dishes. And you just take the initiative. Now, we're not mind readers, okay? And neither are you. So if you're going to do something, make sure that you know that you're doing it from the place of your heart and not so much for recognition from the other person. You know that your partner or friendship or relationship is going to feel loved by doing the service and by doing the deed on your behalf without any obligation. All right, let's move on. So words of affirmation is the second one. Words of affirmations is my love language. And I love it so much because I feed on hearing, Martha, you're doing a great job. Oh my gosh, you are doing such a great job. You know what? Thank you for doing that for me. Or, you know what? I saw you. You kicked ass on that podcast or that episode or things in that nature. Words, I love words. And so much so that I actually give a lot of people encouraging words. I love partaking in inspiring people, filling people's cups, and allowing people to really feel loved. So sometimes people don't like words of affirmation when I give it to them. And I recognize you got to read the room. Like if you're not reading the room, then you're really not being a great human anyway. But words of affirmations is just that. Words of affirmations. Hey, you're doing a great job. I love looking at you when you're sitting over there. Or I really had a great time on this vacation, or, thank you for doing that for me. I really appreciate it. Those are words of affirmations. So if you know that your partner likes those, you should really take into consideration and if you're not a vocal person, I get it. I understand. But if you love that person, sometimes sacrificing just a little bit of yourself just to show that person that you really truly want to make them feel whole, not whole, but full and loved and appreciated. Words of affirmations is your thing. Moving along. So, words of affirmations, and then we have quality time. I love so much. That is my favorite love language. Why? Because it is being able to sit in a room with someone and know that that person is giving you their undivided attention. And even if it's just sitting in a room, even if it's taking a walk, even if it's sitting at the table without your telephone out. Did I just say telephone? Your cell phone. We don't have telephones anymore. That's wild. Anyway, going back to what I was saying, it's knowing that someone is giving you their undivided attention. Quality time to me is spending time with the person, giving them, again, the undivided attention that they require to feel loved. For me, it is literally, I can sit in a room with you and we could just be reading a book, watching a movie, and that is love to me. Or going on a coffee date and just having a great conversation and knowing that you are spending that time with me because you want to spend that time with me. Quality time is such a major love language that a lot of people neglect, because nowadays with technology, everybody is on their phone, everybody is on their computer, they're busy, they're just pulled in different directions. And that hurts many relationships. And I'm talking about across the board. It hurts many relationships because we're talking about just taking a moment and giving it to somebody without any expectation in return because you want to. That's quality time. All right, moving along. So we're going to do gifts. Now, I'm not really a gift girl, but I will definitely take a gift if you give me one. And I'm very thankful if you do, right? So gifts, again, that's pretty simple. You can tell, you can understand what it is. Gifts are just that. And gifts could be something that's meaningful or something that's small, or like your favorite coffee, or taking her or him to the favorite movie that they talked about. It's simple. It's gifts. It's giving somebody something that is physical because you care that that person wanted that or requested that, or just you thought that that person wanted it. Got it? All right, cool. Moving on. So physical touch. Now, I'm going to spend a little time on this one because I have realized during my research with men and women, men particularly enjoy physical touch. Now, I mentioned before that sometimes your words are not words, but love languages are from your childhood, what you did not have as a child growing up. So when a lot of men tell me that they did not have physical touch or their love language is physical touch, I always go back to their childhood and say, okay, mom, dad, what were you doing that your child did not feel loved or felt touched? Now, physical touch is literally giving your son or your daughter a hug, giving someone a kiss on the cheek, holding their hand, giving them tickles as a child, or hugging them when they really had a bad day. These are physical touch. And so when I talk about men having that lack of physical touch, you have to think about it. Young boys are not really physically touched by their fathers. They are led to be providers, leaders, grown men, just astute men in life. And I don't really know many fathers that have hugged their children that hard or that much, or just being around them that much. And that goes for moms too. I'm not going to neglect that mothers can be a product to these children being lack of, right? So physical touch, gentlemen, not everybody understands the physical touch language. If it is that you just want to be rubbed on your head or rubbed on your back or your hand held or you want to be kissed, you got to tell the person you're with. You've got to make it known that that's what you want. So do what you got to do, okay? All right, moving along. So, as you know, those are all the 5 love languages. We have words of affirmation, we have physical touch, we have quality time, we have gifts, and we have acts of service. So, if you know that these 5 love languages could help your relationship, why not figure it out with your partner or the relationships that you're in? I have taken time to understand my children and their love languages, and that was interesting because they actually just unveiled it to me naturally along the way of growing up. And then I started to pay attention to how they responded to certain things. My son is definitely words of affirmation. I believe he's physical touch now too. And my daughter is definitely words of affirmation, and she is quality time. Now, I may be wrong because they have grown up to be mature adults, and we do change our love languages because as we mature and as these things become full in our lives, we tend to change the love languages sometimes. So don't feel like your first 2 love languages are going to be there forever. They may change, and they can change along the way, and that's okay. So don't be so hard on yourself when you're like, hey, I used to like acts of service and now I don't really care if you do that or not. That's just you growing, and growing is beautiful. Okay, it's absolutely beautiful. So I, again, suggest that you go online. Gary Chapman is the gentleman who had initiated this quiz, and it is most amazing because it'll ask you questions that you will kind of think about and go, oh, okay, yeah, I do want that, or no, I don't really care about that. And then it all comes together, and it allows you to see what are your top 2, I think, 2 or 3, and then your last 2 will be like your lesser, right? The ones that you really don't utilize as a love language. Okay. So I wanted to talk about this because love languages are beautiful. And as I've gotten older, I have literally sat across dates and asked, so what's your love language? Because even in the initiating date of dating someone, you should ask because you would like to know how that person would feel loved if it continued down the line as a long-term relationship, right? Now, I've also heard that people are getting tired of being asked their love languages. You guys really need to get out of this rut of people asking about your love language. It's important. If a person asks you about your love language, they actually freaking care about what you like. And that says a lot about someone who's asking that question. Now, there are people who ask that question just because they want to ask a question at dinner or on the date or when you guys are together. And that's okay too. Just answer it. It's not that big of a deal. And if you don't know, again, it is online, it's free, you can do it, and within minutes you'll have the results. Now, results on a quiz, on an online quiz, are always skeptical because, you never really know, right? Take it for what it is. It's like reading tarot or getting tarot reads. Like, you really can't think that your whole life is going to fall apart because of a tarot reading because they said that your life was going to fall apart. So genuinely, you know that this is just a broad thing, but it does get to the point of where your love languages are. All right. So I enjoyed this, and I want you to know love languages are important. Go check yours out online. Gary Chapman is the gentleman who created the 5 love languages and the quiz. And I want to say this. Being loved is so special. And when you are loved, life is different. Life feels different. And it makes you want to just do better for the next person. Now, if you're not that type of person and you don't want to do better, that's okay too. We're all here living our own journey, and it is okay to just be you. And I wouldn't ask anything more of you other than to be you. So I love you, my people. Thank you for watching your Off Is On podcast, and I will definitely see you on the next episode. Peace out.